The year is 1863. It marks the 1000th anniversary of the arrival of Cyril and Methodius in the territory of Great Moravia. Both Byzantine brothers, originally from Thessaloniki, are tasked with spreading Christianity in the first state entity to emerge on the land of today's Czechia and Slovakia. In that same year, 1863, Pope Pius IX decrees that the celebrations take place on July 5th for the very first time. It is somewhat paradoxical, since on that date Cyril and Methodius certainly did not arrive. According to contemporary chronicles, they came sometime during the spring, most likely on May 24th. The July date of the celebration, however, seemed more suitable both from a church and a practical perspective. It fell in summer, fit better into the calendar of religious feasts, and came just one day before the anniversary of the burning of the popular Protestant reformer Jan Hus. And so it happens that today, after another 150 years, the most common fact about Cyril and Methodius is precisely that incorrect date of their arrival. And that is a pity, because the two brothers were truly extraordinary figures, and their lives wrote a gripping story. The story must begin in the year 813. At that time, in the Byzantine family of Lev, an administrator and military commander in Thessaloniki, and his wife Maria, their eldest son Michael is born. Later, in the monastery, he takes the priestly name Methodius. 14 years later, the couple welcomes their seventh and youngest child, a son named Constantine. The youth of these two brothers is very different, and nothing suggests that they will one day become an inseparable pair. The eldest, Michael, after studies in Thessaloniki and Constantinople, today's Istanbul, becomes at the age of 22 a governor in the region of Strymon, where many Slavs live at that time. He serves there for 10 years, yet his disillusionment steadily grows, with Byzantine policy toward the Slavs, who naturally feel closer to their related nations, especially the Bulgarian kingdom, and also with the corruption and constant intrigues that plague the society of the time. For this reason, he leaves his post and withdraws to a monastery at the foot of Mount Olympus in Asia Minor. There he is ordained as a monk and takes the name Methodius.
Je postříháván boží služebník Metoděj ve jménu Otce i Syna i Svatého Ducha.
The youngest, Constantine, shows signs of genius from an early age. His father, connected with people from the highest circles in Constantinople, helps him gain an education directly at the imperial court. There, young Constantine becomes the protégé of Chancellor Theoktistos. He is taught by the greatest intellectuals of the time, and it seems that a brilliant career in state service is destined for him. Yet he refuses. His attitude is the same as that reached at roughly the same time by his elder brother, a dislike of practical politics, and instead a desire to continue studying and to live according to God's commandments. Constantine therefore serves as librarian and archivist in Constantinople's most important church, the Hagia Sophia, and later holds an equally prestigious position as professor of philosophy at the Imperial Academy. None of this, however, satisfies him. On one occasion, he even flees the capital and hides for half a year in a monastery before the chancellor's men manage to track him down. At the age of 28, he finally gains permission to leave the capital and sets out for a monastery in Asia Minor to join his eldest brother. After 20 long years, they meet again.
Ty jsi už velký. Pojď, posaď se. Jak je to dlouho? Hodně.
In the seclusion of the monastery, the brothers live for 5 years. Then Constantine is called back into service. He is sent to the Khazar Empire, stretching along the shores of the Black, Azov, and Caspian Seas, to promote and defend Christianity there against Arab and Jewish influences. Methodius accompanies him. On the way, in Crimea, near today's Sevastopol, Constantine decides to search for the grave of Saint Clement, the fourth pope, who around the year 100 is said to have suffered a martyr's death at this very place. It seems unbelievable, but after persistent searching, the brothers actually find the grave. From today's perspective, this discovery may appear as a minor episode, but the truth is quite the opposite. Finding the relics of the saint turns Constantine and Methodius into celebrities across the Christian world, opens doors to the highest circles, and protects them from intrigues connected with their next, and, as it soon proves, life-defining mission in Great Moravia, the first real state entity founded by the Slavs after their arrival in Central Europe. So here we are in Moravia shortly after the year 860. The ruler is Prince Rostislav, who struggles in vain to put an end to the worship of pagan gods and to Christianize his land. It is not only a religious issue, but also a political one. Above all, in the name of spreading Christianity, it is possible to expand one's influence and gain new territories. But first it is necessary to establish Christianity at home, and that is not succeeding. Church services are held exclusively in Latin, the common people have no idea what it is really about, and they keep returning to pagan symbols, which are far more comprehensible to them. Rostislav therefore writes to the Pope in Rome, asking for a bishop who would explain the faith to the people in a language they can understand. But he runs into a wall. Such a step would mean weakening the influence of priests from the Frankish Empire, today's Germany, who hold a church monopoly in Moravia and through it ensure dependence on the Frankish realm and its king, Louis II, called the German. And so Rostislav turns with the same request to the emperor in Constantinople. The emperor agrees and once again chooses the two brothers for this mission. Constantine immediately realizes that language is the key to everything. He therefore uses his vast knowledge of languages to create for the Slavs their first alphabet, Glagolitic. It is a phenomenal achievement. The script is simple and understandable. The two brothers arrive in Velehrad, Rostislav's seat, in the year 862, and within 3 years they achieve almost miraculous success. They teach the new alphabet, translate the entire New Testament into the Slavic language, and the people fully respect them, not least thanks to their unusually kind approach for that time. By contrast, the Frankish priests suffer a complete fiasco, suddenly pushed aside, which was disliked by their bishops in Regensburg and Salzburg, and of course by their king, Louis the German. And so, after 3 years, when Constantine and Methodius leave Moravia to accompany their first Slavic disciples to Constantinople for ordination, they must first in Venice and then in Rome defend their Slavic liturgy before the Pope and counter accusations of heresy. Thanks mainly to Constantine's brilliant rhetoric and to the relics of St. Clement, which they bring with them, they succeed. Yet their stay in Rome ends tragically. Constantine's tuberculosis, from which he has long suffered, grows worse, and on February 14th, 869, at the age of 42, he dies. Shortly before his death, he enters a monastic order, takes the name Cyril, and asks his brother to complete the work they began together in Moravia. Meanwhile, events unfold in Moravia. A war with the Franks begins, full of betrayal and unexpected turns. Prince Rostislav is captured, blinded, and imprisoned for life in the monastery of St. Emmeram in Regensburg. His successor, Svatopluk, however, repeatedly defeats the enemy and starts expanding his territory and influence. At about the same time, Methodius, by then newly consecrated by the Pope as bishop of the first Slavic diocese, with its center in Sirmium near today's Belgrade, falls into Frankish captivity on his return to Moravia. The Bavarian bishops demand that he give up his new office. He refuses, and so they imprison him for 2.5 years in a monastery in Ellwangen, kept under bars in an open pit. Only later does the Pope learn of his fate, orders his release, and punishes his captors. Methodius finally returns to Moravia, where he will serve with interruptions until the end of his life. He achieves great things. He secures the Slavic liturgy, but above all, together with his disciples, he translates the Old Testament into the Slavic language, which he regards as the completion of his mission. At the same time, Prince Svatopluk uses his church activity as a pretext for ever more territorial conquests under the banner of spreading Christianity.
Co, biskupe? Požehnáš mi ho?
Žehnám životu, ne smrti.
Methodius dies in Velehrad on April 6th, 885. He is 72 years old and can take comfort in having accomplished what he and his brother had set out to do. They brought the Slavs faith, education, and to a great extent also a new identity, and perhaps even more. Neither of them ever turned aside from the obstacles placed in their way, ever feared the hostility, or ever betrayed their convictions.